Hi guys, it's been a while. I've been moving between jobs and stuff like that. I haven't had a really consistent place where I could set up and film videos. I've been writing a lot of content for a couple of different blogs and whatnot. I write for bladereviews.com, I write for A Blog to Watch, but I haven't had a chance to really spend much time with YouTube until recently. My wife and I just moved back into a house of our own in Nashville, and I have been able to get some time, get some setups, a little bit of equipment, and I'm ready to make some videos again. And that's what I'm coming at you with today. Today we are reviewing the Great Eastern Cutlery number 15 boy's knife. I wrote a review for Blade Reviews on this knife, and it's a slip joint that I'm really a fan of. And I think that Great Eastern Cutlery themselves are a really interesting knife company today. I was looking back at some statistics on Blade forums. These might be a little anecdotal, but I think it's at least worth talking about it. In 2007, GEC reported that they produced 7,300 knives, whereas in 2017 it was reported that they produced nearly 30,000 knives. So you can see that they are ramping up production. They are being very successful. They are getting a lot of traction with users and whatnot. And I can only think that perhaps that is due to I think it's a couple of different things. I think it's probably a shift back to some traditional knives and some interest towards some traditional knives. And I also think that perhaps folks are maybe starting to feel the overemphasis on the super tactical or the overbuilt, overly designed knife. I'm not exactly sure, but all in all, GECs are really cool, and they seem to have developed a great collector base. So today, the one we are looking at is the pattern number 15 Titty Boy's Knife. It's a well-rounded EDC slip joint, in my opinion, at what is a very accessible price point for a knife of this quality. And before we get too far into it, I want to go over some specs. One of the first things I want to touch on is that these are all based on my ruler and my calipers, so they may differ a little bit from the manufacturer's specs, but I just like to measure it myself just in case. So we're looking at a 2.5 inch blade, an overall thickness at the thickest point of I'm sorry, I was looking at my notes wrong, 0.43 inches, and then the overall length from tip to tail is 6.187 inches. The blade's stock thickness here is 0.09 inches, and then the steel is 1095 carbon steel. And the weight of the whole package is 1.8 ounces. And like I'm sure you guys have guessed, this is a non-locking knife, so there's no frame lock or liner lock or anything on it. It is strictly a slip joint. So, okay, a little bit about the blade. Great Eastern Cutlery, the number 15 pattern is kind of an amalgamation of several different knives that they've made. I'm aware of a Wharncliffe style blade that they call the Navy knife. There's a Wharncliffe style that comes with a cap lifter or a pry bar, and they call that the crown lifter. And then I've seen several special runs of the TC Barlows, Tom's Choice Barlows, that come in spear point. I think there might be a clip point version out there. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a GEC expert, and I'm sure there's something out there that I am missing. The spear point blade, in my opinion, though, offers a lot of usability and functionality in a knife this small. It gives you a really fine point here for any sort of piercing tasks that you might have, and then an overall decent knife blade for EDC stuff. I'm thinking opening mail, breaking down boxes, prepping food, stuff like that. If you need something for heavier duty than that, this is probably not going to be the piece for you. You have this like satin as ground. Let me see if I can get a little bit better detail on there for you. Satin as ground finish there that I've always found really attractive. I like this on my custom knives too. And then you can see that they have started a long swedge that runs the length of the blade starting about here. That adds some dimensionality to what I think would be a pretty flat blade otherwise. Another thing that I really like about GEC knives is they do have the ability here to get these so thin. These are, I wrote it down, these are 0.012 behind the edge. So I'm sure you can imagine that in terms of like cutting paper and stuff like that, this thing excels. 1095 steel is a high carbon steel. It's kind of a known quantity at this point. If you're not familiar with it, I'm sure there's a lot of information out there for you. It is high carbon, so you're going to want to oil it. I recommend something like Aegis Knife Solution or mineral oil or something food safe, because this would be something that I would want to, be able to chop up some apples with or something like that. The handles here are pretty simple. They are green micarta with these steel bolsters here. You can see they take some fingerprints. Really well finished, nice and rounded. All the pins are flush except for the ones here that are recessed. This is not necessarily a Barlow as much as it is like a sleeve board pattern. A Barlow would have a longer steel bolster brought down here, but they do make this pattern in a Barlow. Got some steel liners there. In hand, I'm sure you can see that it offers a lot of grip. I typically wear kind of a large glove, and this would fit well in my hand. But it's not, again, it's not something that I would want to do a lot of really heavy lifting with. As I went over before, it is a slip joint knife. And one of the things I like to talk about with slip joints is how the fit and finish of it, kind of the, let me get it to focus again. There we are. How it's put together, the flushness of the spring and all the different positions and whatnot. And I can tell you that in the half stop position, it is not flush. But in the others, it is. And I think on a production knife, that's fine. If this was a custom, one of my custom slip joints, it's probably something I would take issue with, but I don't really mind that here. The walk and talk on it is nice. The pull is probably right at a 5 if you're measuring it on a scale of 10. I think it's right in the middle. You can close it with one hand easily. No problems there. So, in conclusion, I think that the GEC 15 boys knife is a nice entry level into a Great Eastern Cutlery knife. They're about 99 bucks. So you can find them on Blade Forum. Oh, not Blade. I'm sure you can find them on Blade Forums, but you can find them on Blade HQ or Knife Ship Free or CollectorKnives.com. Any of those different places are going to have them. And I think for someone that's looking for something that is traditionally styled for kind of some light duty work, you would find a lot of use and a lot of mileage out of this piece. So, if you have any questions, shoot down to the comments and let me know. Also, there will be a written review of this posted up on bladereviews.com shortly. So probably in the next week or two. I'm not exactly sure when he's planning on publishing that, but feel free to go over there and join the discussion there as well. And otherwise, keep an eye out for some more reviews. I'm looking forward to having this kind of set up and having some ability to make these regularly so you guys can see some stuff. I've got some really cool things that I want to take a look at. Nothing else in my pockets really, but we'll go from there. Anyway, glad to be back. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.